Practice has been good. The guys are really focused, energized. You can tell the extra juice flowing out there. It's nice to see it. It's nice to be practicing, and I'm excited about the opportunity. Certainly, the more you watch these guys, you realize why they're so good. But our guys are really excited. They've probably had two really good practices in the books, and got to be smart about how you practice this time of year. So we're having to do tempo walks, do some good on good, and try to take care of their legs, but at the same time expose them to what is going to be a really physical, good football team.
I meant to ask you, are y'all practicing exclusively in the indoor all week, or have you been outside?
No, we've been outside, I would say probably 25-30% of the practice, mainly because of the legs. The turf is probably a little harder on your legs, so we get some out, some in, and plus space. We just don't have enough space in there, so we do most of it inside.
Kirby, you've had a couple sound bites as a head coach, but then over at LSU, they've got probably one of the most well-known characters, I guess, as a coach in college football. And
he's got some good ones.
Well, yeah. In terms of Coach Orgeron, character like that, and just his overall persona, how good do you think it is for the game, for the SEC, to have a guy like that doing what he does?
Oh, it's awesome. I think it's more important what he does with his team than what he says. Obviously, words only go so far. It's your actions and your team's performance, and he certainly spoke loud and clear with that because they played really well in big games. He keeps his team good and loose, and they play to his character. I think it's great for our conference. I think we got a stellar group of coaches in our conference.
Kirby, when you look at what Ed's done and what on offense and what Nick did with Tua, I mean, how hard is it for a defensive guy to kind of go against the way he was brought up and what he's believed in, and to maybe sacrifice a little bit of physicality?
I don't think that's hard. I think, if you can score points like they're doing, that's great. What's bad about that? I think we all want to do that some. It's not who we are. We don't have a team built like that. We're not built like those two teams. We're built very differently, and that's not always by nature. It wasn't like all of a sudden, Alabama's decided they were going to throw the ball all the time. They got a stellar group of wideouts in one gathering. It was like they all came in at once and they became really good players. Same thing at LSU. They've had good wideouts over the years, but they got a really stellar group at the same time, along with a transfer quarterback that has been impeccable. So I don't know that philosophically both those guys just made huge changes as much as they inherited two really quarterbacks that are unique, that can do some special things, and they've got some special players around them.
Or is there a sense that losing Cager for the year, not having George for the first half, and the kind of offensive game plan for the first half of this game will be a little bit different than it has been this season?
Yeah, I don't know about that. You can't change who you are completely in a week. Certainly we've got different groupings, different packages, different use of guys. We got a lot of big guys. We got tight ends, backs. We got receivers, just not as many as we've normally had. So, but I don't think there's going to be a major wholesale change in a week.
Do you think that kind of, increases the importance of a kind of a receiving game for Charlie and Eli?
I don't know about to say that. It's everybody's important, right? So the wideouts that are playing are important, the tight ends that are playing, the backs that are playing. Everybody's important, and it's important to be able to run the ball. You can't put one thing over another. Number one thing that indicates success is don't turn the ball over, get explosive plays. We've been good at one, and we've been just okay at the other. So
They go 4 and 5 wide so much. How much do they send out tight ends or running backs, or how much is it 3-4 wide receivers, which may alter your personnel?
Yeah, they probably do the least personnel groupings of anybody we played because they go tempo, so they go fast. They don't change who's in the game. They may change the person, but not the position. So, they're in 11 personnel a lot, which is 1 back, 1 tight end, and 3 wides. It may look like 4 and 5 wides because they're all out there and they're all really good receivers, and they're really good skill players. So that's what makes them unique, but it's not necessarily 5. This team is really good for them because they can do all things with the same people. So when you take this grouping and you say, well, this is the empty grouping. Oh, okay, this is the big bulla 12 hitch in the mouth grouping. They do it all with the same grouping. So then you're forced to decide, what do I want to try to take away? And that's tough.
Sort of last week you kind of touched on how Sherman has kind of played as big of a part in the defensive play calling as Dan Lanning has. I mean, you kind of elaborate more on the job that he's done being as young as he is, the progressions that he's shown. I mean, like I remember right when he got hired, the picture of him playing with y'all, kind of right over from Georgia. I mean, when you first brought him on with you, did you kind of expect him to progress? Oh, yes.
Yeah, I fully expected him to. I mean, when I hired him, he was the most probably sure hire I had. And you can say, well, wasn't he a risky hire? No, because I'd worked with him for, I don't even know how many years. He could tell you 7 or 8. I mean, he was at Alabama forever. So, I mean, when you have a body of work, it's like having an internship, an employee, a comrade, a comrade he worked with you. He worked alongside you. So, like, there was not a lot of risk or concern when you hire somebody that's been to work with you as long as he has. So he's done a tremendous job. He provides a lot of energy. He's really a great teacher. He teaches the technique well. He spends more time putting his tapes and his packages together. His players play really hard for him. He's a good recruiter. I mean, he's what you want in a coach.
Kirby, with the 20-hour rule and the success of the defense, have guys like Monty Rice and J.R. Reed doing extra stuff on their own. How important is that for just having that kind of culture for guys knowing that can help out everybody?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, you can't get by in college football 20 hours. It's impossible because, I mean, you can't do it. So they've got to do extra. They got to do things on their own, and the right kind of players do that. I think that's really important in recruiting, that you recruit a guy that holds himself to a standard that's bigger than just, I'm going to give you my work coach, then I'm going to go check out. But it's not just those two. I mean, there's countless guys that are here. Like, everybody keeps telling me that Monty and JR, I'm like, there's more than them. Those guys are up here nonstop. And our offensive players the same way. They enjoy it. They love football.
How difficult is this week as a coach when you've got the game at the end of it, but you're also possibly hearing that your name is connected to school X? Sort of the coaching carousel. As far as so you got obviously you got the game to focus on, but potentially you're also hearing your name, not you specifically, but you're hearing assistants and coaches mentioned for these other jobs.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard anything, so my head's in the sand. I mean, I'm grinding on LSU. I have no idea what you're referencing, so I guess I need to get on and check my phone because I don't know. I really don't know what's going on out there. I mean,
I think he's more talking about you in the past, where when you were a coordinator, maybe you were mentioned for a head coaching job. You got other coaches that are maybe.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's important that you owe these players who have put you in an opportunity to get that opportunity to give them your all. And for me, it was never about that. I mean, as an assistant, I was never worried about that. Talk to me about that after the season, after everything's done. I want to deal with that because if I have 1 minute of thought about that, it's not on what are they doing next, what is our next call, what is the next thing we can do, then it's not fair to the players.
What is
So what?
Switched to on course.
Yeah, I mean he's been out there doing what we asked him to do. He's practicing. I mean, he's banged up, man. It's tough, but he's a warrior. He's a fighter, and we're expecting him to be able to go. I mean, he's practicing.
How did he injure his left shoulder on that play? He landed on his right.
Yeah, I think that according to him, we had that same question. It was earlier in the game that he injured. He continued to play. He continued to play with it, and then it just began to hurt more and more and more after that. And that was kind of the culmination of that on that play, where it was like it's bothering him more. But yeah, he's had a banged up shoulder a lot of the year. A lot of our guys. I mean, Brian Herring's had it. We've had a couple players have the similar injury that he has. He has played with it and dealt with it, and it's I won't say it's a common injury, but we have a lot of guys that have had that same injury in football, and he's been dealing with it well, and came to a head Saturday because he had a couple hits earlier where he did fall on it and it was bothering him.
I'm trying to remember your philosophy on it, but I believe on both his fumbles Saturday, he had a right ball secured on the left side run. And I know you guys really talk about ball security. If I remember right, maybe Chubb and Sony never changed sides regardless which way to go. What's your philosophy on that? Was he doing what you expect?
Yeah, philosophically, we'd like to have the ball on the outside arm, but there's also dominant arms and dominant hands, and there's also sometimes injuries involved in that. And he's comfortable in his right arm, so that's where you had those.
You mentioned the extra juice you've seen in practice. This year and the past 2 years, do you think your players kind of enjoy the prospect of games like this that are for all the marbles, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're excited about the opportunity to play in front of this was the last, I think 2 years ago, it was the most watched, or last year was the most watched game in all of college football. I mean, it's a lot of passion and energy involved. Atlanta's got a great venue, and the Southeastern Conference is second to none when it comes to fan bases and passion. So I know our players are excited. I am too.
You mentioned yesterday that LSU, their offense, if there's a weak link, they find it. As a coaching staff, one, how important is it, and how much emphasis do you put on the process of doing that yourself? And two, at what point during the week do you kind of get that nailed down? Is it on Sunday, or do you kind of get the...
As far as nail down what?
Finding the other team's weaknesses, finding the areas that you think you can exploit. Does it happen right away? Does it happen throughout putting in the game plan? I mean,
they're trying to find our weak links. They don't have a lot of. I mean, they got good football players on the field, and they got a good quarterback, and they got a very experienced O-line. So it's not like there's a lot of weak links out there for them. You put the game plan together, and you look at pictures and say, "Ooh, that doesn't look good," and you might move this, change that, tweak people around. And philosophically, you got to feel like, what am I willing to expose myself to risk on? And that's the hardest decision, because ultimately they got good players out there, a lot of spots.
Orgeron has referenced Tyler Clark several times watching tape, being a D-line coach, and 452. Can you talk about what kind of a season he's had, and is he realized at the end of this season what you always anticipated for Tyler Clark?
Yeah, Tyler's had a good year. He's been really active. I think the way we have played defensively with the havoc and the movement has helped Tyler. He's a good athlete. That's given him ability to make some plays. Tyler's a hard-nosed, tough working. I mean, the number of snaps he's played for us over 4 years is pretty incredible for what he's been able to do for us and stay, relatively healthy. But Tyler's done a great job, and he's one of the first kids we recruited here, and he's been a great Georgia Bulldog.
Following up on your defense as a whole, maybe specifically your defensive front. I mean, how vital is it, I suppose, to be able to just do those wholesale type of rotations at times, to pull guys out, bring guys in, so seemingly it's like those guys aren't ever tired in any situation late in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to, if you didn't have to do that, it means you had really, really good players that were playing front line, but they would play a lot of snaps. I think on the defensive line, it's such a combative atmosphere. It's physical that you got to have guys that can rotate in and play, and we do have good depth there, and we're able to share a lot of reps with guys and keep them pretty fresh.
This will be the fourth Georgia LSU SEC championship game. What do you remember about 2005 as an assistant coach?
Man, I remember stuff after the game. It's the first SEC championship that I was ever a part of, number one. Number two, to win it was pretty special. I remember taking pictures afterwards, and I remember Shockley played a well of a game, and it was like the pinnacle of my career at that point, because I'd never played in an SEC championship. I'd never really been even close to one, and to win one, it was pretty special, because you don't know if you're ever going to get that opportunity when you play and you coach, and that was a special time.
2 more questions? Would you say this has been a successful season for you guys?
I don't define success based on wins and losses. I define it on what you get out of a team and what you're able to accomplish, and really proud of what our kids have done this far.
You mentioned the other day, that obviously you can't get out really do any recruiting this week, obviously prepare for the game. At the end of the week, y'all gonna be able to get out at all, like a Friday or so, to do a little bit of stuff?
We're hopeful to get out a couple days, couple times, go see some people. It's tough because there's a lot of planning going on. Thanks.
Thank you.